Oh, well, I'm Beatriz TRUXILLO Morgan. I'm a daughter of Joaquin Trujillo, who was a miner for 42 years, and he lived in several mining camps, like in the Delawa, Rainy, Brilliant, Morley, and Valdez. Those are the mining camps that, when I was little, my father worked in those mines. I was born in Velasquez Plaza, which is west of Trinidad, Colorado. Well, I went to several schools, you know. The first school I went to was at the reservation, and it was only like for a year. And then my father came to Colorado, and I went to school in Medinas, which is now called Primero. And it was a one-room schoolhouse. I don't know how we got there, I can't remember, but I remember the schoolhouse. There was one teacher, and there was a lot of benches, and we had chalkboards. That's how we studied, I guess.
Yeah.
Okay. When my father worked in the Valdez mine, well, I don't know how many years he had been working there. There was a gentleman that used to do sketches for the mine, and they always said that women should not go into the mine because Mother Earth would get upset. Well, there was 3 or 4 women that went in there, and I can remember my dad saying their names. And right after those women came out of there, they started having, what did they call those? The mine kept falling down, you know. They kept having disasters in the mine. So he always remembered that. He said, women should never go into the mine because Mother Earth doesn't want them in there. And one time he came, and he was soaked up to the knee with, where he had been kneeling down digging coal, and he had to push this buggy with the coal uphill so they could dump it over the shaft. And he said to my mother, you know, if I was any younger, he said, I would have got a better education and not gone into the mine. But I'm too old now. He said, I've been working in the mine since I could remember. And I will work, he says, till I can't work anymore. And he did work for like 42 years. And when he went to work at the Allen mine, he was too old to work. So they didn't hire him. And he retired and became a cowpuncher for Vermejo Park. He was one of the last cowboys that worked at Vermejo Park. Because when he retired from there, they got these ATVs, and that's when they started running cattle with ATVs. You know. But my father was a hardworking man, and he was just somebody everybody knew. You know, some had a little farm, maybe somebody had some cattle, but when it came to harvesting, everybody helped each other. If they saw the neighbor was having problems with the irrigation ditch or something, these men would go and help with the ditch. It was never like I have to ask for help. People were willing to help. You know, women were always helping each other with the children, with, you know, with the laundry, whatever had to be done, because it was so, they were so close together and there was so little to share that they just did it. Everybody had their own little gardens, but when it came to harvest time, everybody shared. And when they did corn, they harvested the corn and they took it maybe to the people that had the ovens, and they baked their corn in those ovens. And they made bread that same day, and maybe butchered a lamb or something and baked it at the end of the day in that same oven because it was always hot. Well, it's like your grandmother and my grandmother. When it came to baking bread, the neighbors all would bring their dough over to Grandma's house where she had the oven, and they'd all put their bread in that oven. That was the day they used that oven. Yes, they hauled the water from the river. They had like a steep bank, and I guess the men or whoever made like steps, and women would go down there with buckets and pull water out of the river, and they heated it in copper kettles, so there were like barrels or whatever they call those things, tanks. I call them tanks because it looked like a tank. But they all, like the day they washed, women all washed at the same time because it was too hard to haul the water up the bank. Oh, they had picnics, they played baseball, they played bocce. You know what bocce is?
Yes.
Okay. Well, anyway, they got together like on Sunday afternoon. The men would get together and go to somebody's yard, and they played baseball and bocce, and the women would get together and crochet or embroider, pass along what they had learned that day or what they had made over the weekend. They also crocheted their pillowcases. So they stayed very busy, but mainly on Sundays after church, they would go to somebody's house for lunch, and then they would play games.
Everybody.
Yeah, I still live old-fashioned. I still do still do everything the old way. But I noticed that some of the young generation are interested in learning, but there's no one to teach them. If there was someone to teach them how to do these things or what to gather from the mountain or the riverside or whatever, they would learn all this herbs and stuff that was available then. But there's no one left to teach them. It has got lost. It has really got lost.
So they're